Hi there, I'm Lisa Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching on the replay, always put hashtag replay and let me know where you're watching from, because we have people from all over the world. It's so much fun. I want to follow up on what I posted last week about being in the motorcycle accident and being incredibly well protected and having a lot of inspiration around that. There's been a week since the accident happened. Well, I don't know if I want to say the accident happened. It's been a week since that experience. And I have had such an interesting walk. It's kind of, I'm peeling apart the layers of kind of the anatomy of a healing, because it's so incredibly important to discipline our thought. Every single day in the last week, I have had my body suggesting that there's something wrong, suggesting that I need to follow up and pay attention to this problem or that problem. There have been suggestions of concussion, of some kind of internal injury, not quite sure what, because I did not go to a hospital. I didn't go off in the ambulance. I actually ended up riding home because I was okay. But the suggestion that I'm not okay has kept coming back. So in the practice of divine law, it is really important to recognize that those suggestions are just that. Suggestions. They're not reality. They're not something that you have to accept. It's a suggestion. Do you want to accept the suggestion and say, yeah, I'll take that on? Or do you want to reject it and say, no, I'm not accepting that as true about me? So we have suggestion and then belief and then problem. So much easier to push away a suggestion than it is to take it in, accept it. It turns into a belief, and there's a lot of work in this community done on uncovering and digging out and getting rid of those beliefs that we carry around with ourselves all the time about ourselves. Belief is kind of the next step after suggestion, and then it turns into a full-fledged problem that you then have to deal with, and you have to kind of unwind backwards. So I'd much rather deal with the suggestion and make sure that I'm not taking in the suggestion as a reality for myself. So this week there were many, many, many opportunities to reject the suggestions of pain, suffering, problems, whatever, as a result of this accident. And I say that advisedly, this accident. It is very important to understand that in the divine reality, there are no accidents. So to say that accident that I was in, I've actually had to be really careful that I'm not telling people, oh yeah, I was in a motorcycle accident, because claiming that words have power. We know that. Claiming that I was in an accident lays the groundwork for all the problems to come on board. So I experienced something that looked like the suggestion of conflict, the suggestion of pain, the suggestion of ideas colliding, of me colliding with the street. If I accept that as my reality, then I suffer the effects of that. If I accept that I am a spiritual idea, that I am an idea in mind, in divine mind, that God is thinking me and my identity, that idea cannot come into conflict. That idea has never been separated from God, because God never stopped thinking me, right? Just as he's thinking you. You are an idea in mind. So claiming that and claiming my immunity from accident, danger, death, destruction, pain, suffering, fear, all of that stuff, claiming my immunity goes a long way to holding off and staving off those suggestions. So here's one of the quotes that I worked with a lot this week. It's from Science and Health by Mary Baker Eddy, which I know I quote a lot, but it's an amazing science book, and I highly recommend it. She says, mentally insist that harmony is the fact. Mentally insist that harmony is the fact, and that sickness is a temporal dream. You can plug in anything for sickness, that accidents are a temporal dream. Realize the presence of health and the fact of harmonious being until the body corresponds with the normal conditions of health and harmony. So mentally insisting realizing the presence of health, and the fact of harmonious being. So there's a lot of very kind of concrete steps that we can take in there. Mentally insisting that harmony is the fact, no matter what the body is screaming at me, no matter what the 5 physical senses are trying to suggest is real, I can mentally insist that harmony is the fact, and that sickness, pain, suffering, the suggestions, are the dream. You remember the post that I did right after my mom passed on? I had a vision that night where she had passed on in my dream, and someone in the dream said, "No, she hasn't passed on. She's not dead. She was just sleeping and she's woken up. She's in the other room." And I went in the other room and there was my mom, happy and well, and with a lot of people around. So this dream, and this is the thing that I thought was really cool. I shared the story with a mastermind group that I'm in. And the guy that was listening, one of the guys that was listening had his ear pods in. And at the end of the story, he said, "Hey, listen, my ear pods were out in the beginning. Is this something that happened, or was this a dream you were telling us about?" And I thought, that is incredibly profound, because it is a dream. It's a waking dream. Just like we have sleeping dreams, we also have waking dreams. And the 5 physical senses are the waking dream. So I don't want to be too long, and I know I've kind of gone longer than I was going to go, but I just wanted to say, this healing, every healing that we have, when we are challenged by things, it takes a real discipline of thought. It takes staying with it. Don't give up. Don't sort of give yourself a treatment and then kind of give up and let the suggestions come in, because the suggestions will come in. And we have to be standing guard at the door of our thought and mentally insisting that harmony is the fact, no matter what the suggestions are. And as I've done that this week, every time a suggestion would come up of pain, the pain would go away as soon as I would mentally insist that harmony was the fact and say, nope, I don't buy it. And that discipline of thought is the practice of putting this divine law into practice in our lives, and how we can have healings, how we can train and discipline our thinking to not accept what the illusion of the senses is telling us. Don't buy into the dream. Just like when you're sleeping, you don't buy into the dream. When you wake up, you go, "Oh yeah, that was just a dream." The same thing is happening when we're awake. It's a waking dream. So recognize we're in it, like have a lucid waking dream. Recognize that this is a dream, an illusion of sense that we can trump with the spiritual laws. With spiritual sense, we can see through the illusion and we can see the reality, and there's power in that. There's healing in that. So I challenge you, use your spiritual senses, overcome the illusion that is being presented to you by the physical senses. It is an amazing science. Practice it, because practice makes us better at it. At least it does for me. As I practice it, I get better at practicing it. I get better at using it. I get better at having healings and not being distracted by the illusion of sense as much. So thank you so much for watching. Share this out if you want to. If there are any ideas in here that you you can always be in touch with me. Private message me on Facebook, email me ideasontruth@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Share. Okay. Love you guys.